Find some safe to play with, please. What? No. Find some safe to play with.
The internet is spinning out after Lil Wayne allegedly leaked a private Birdman video that was never meant to see the light of day. And the wild part? He's not done. Wayne is now hinting that even more explosive footage could be next. What once looked like a father-son bond has officially cracked, and now everyone's waiting to see how Birdman responds. But to understand how it got here, you have to go back to the beginning. Brian Williams, better known as Birdman, was just 14 years old with $1 million. In New Orleans, that only meant one thing. That money didn't come from a record deal. It didn't come from a trust fund. It came from the streets, long before Cash Money Records was even a thought. Before rap ever became his public image, Birdman's name already carried serious weight. And in that city, weight wasn't about clout. It was about survival.
You know who Baby was, and he's a millionaire from the streets. And in New Orleans, you know, that name way before there was rap, before there was a Cash Money Records, that name held weight. You know, my mama went to school with him. My mama was so scared for me to even be involved with him. Wow. You know what I mean? All she would say was like, boy, that boy was 14 with $1 million. And she was scared of him.
Lil Wayne's mother actually went to school with Birdman. She watched up close as a teenager stacked money most grown men couldn't even comprehend. So when her son came home talking about signing to Cash Money Records, she was scared, genuinely scared. And that fear wasn't irrational. She knew exactly what a 14-year-old millionaire in New Orleans had to be involved in to become a 14-year-old millionaire in New Orleans. Birdman and his brother Slim officially founded Cash Money Records in 1991. Operating straight out of New Orleans, the label focused on local talent while maneuvering through the early Southern rap landscape. Their business model was brutally simple: sign artists young, control their output, and own everything. From day one, critics questioned it, but the results spoke louder than the criticism. Cash Money grew into one of hip-hop's most successful independent labels before landing a distribution deal with Universal Music Group in 1998, reportedly worth around $30 million. That Universal deal changed everything. Cash Money went from a regional powerhouse to a national force almost overnight. But it also locked in a financial structure that would later fuel nearly every controversy tied to Birdman's name. Under the agreement, Cash Money kept ownership of its masters while Universal handled distribution. Translation? Birdman and Slim controlled the money. They decided who got paid, when they got paid, and how much they got paid. Dwayne Michael Carter Jr. entered this world around 1993. He was roughly 9 years old when he first met Birdman through another Cash Money artist named Lil Slim. The exact details of that meeting change depending on who's telling the story, but the outcome never does. Birdman saw something in the kid and chose to invest. And this wasn't a casual investment. Birdman didn't just sign Wayne to a deal, he brought him into his life. Wayne's biological father had left when he was a toddler, creating a void that Birdman stepped into with intention. He became father figure, mentor, manager, and boss all at once. Over time, those roles blurred so much they became impossible to separate. Wayne officially became Cash Money's youngest artist. He was placed into groups designed to sharpen his skills and grow his audience. First came the BGs, pairing Wayne with another young artist then known as BG Lil Doogie. Then came the Hot Boys, adding Juvenile and Turk to the lineup. These groups were essentially training camps, teaching Wayne how to...
I ain't never took from them. I always blessed them.
But why niggas keep saying that? No, you know what I'm saying? Why niggas keep saying that, bro? Like everybody, producer, all these folks like, man, you don't pay, bro.
Wait, bro. I had some incidents early on.
Yeah.
Because I was really young and I ain't know no better.
Birdman's own admission here is telling. He's openly acknowledged that there were things that happened early on when he was young, when he says he didn't know any better. And that statement works in two ways. On one hand, it's a defense. He was young, learning on the fly. But on the other, it's also a confession. Because those mistakes didn't happen in a vacuum. They involved other people's money, other people's livelihoods, and other people's trust. And once you frame it like that, the story doesn't sound nearly as simple anymore.
But every problem I had, I cleared it up.
Oh, you saying any that ever fucked like they got fucked
I
over?
cleared it up.
Yeah.
I paid any that they got. You heard me? Because I was young, bro. Remember, I'm telling you, I'm 20 years old.
Yeah.
So a lot of it happened early on. I just ain't know. But any that had any problem from my son on down, and I gave him 50 million, I cleared it up, brother. Because I ain't want my name like that, especially with Wayne. That's like I'm nothing without this dude. Like that I didn't want, but it happened. But I aired it out.
The claim that he fixed everything doesn't really line up with decades of lawsuits, public accusations, and artists walking away from Cash Money. But the most revealing part comes right at the end. I'm nothing without this dude. Birdman may have built an empire, but the foundation of that empire was Lil Wayne. Without Wayne's talent, his non-stop work ethic, his willingness to record endlessly and tour without breaks, Cash Money likely would have stayed a regional label with regional reach. Wayne didn't just elevate the brand, he made Birdman a mogul. And that's where the question that would later tear them apart begins. Was Wayne ever truly compensated for turning Birdman into that man? The 2000s marked the peak of their partnership. Wayne's Thaw Carter series reshaped what commercial hip-hop could look like. Then Carter III dropped in 2008 and sold over 1 million copies in its first week. A milestone no hip-hop album has matched since. That success pulled even more talent into the Cash Money universe and its Young Money subsidiary. Drake signed in 2009. Nicki Minaj followed soon after. The label went on to generate billions. Publicly, Birdman and Wayne still leaned hard into the father-son image. They released the joint album Like Father, Like Son. In 2006, they showed up everywhere together. Interviews, award shows, clubs, photos surfaced of them kissing on the lips, images that would later become central to debates about the true nature of their bond. Critics and commentators fixated on it, trying to either explain it away or weaponize it. When a leaked 2006 photo spread online and sparked renewed speculation, Birdman addressed the backlash head-on. He insisted it was cultural, not sexual, but the controversy never really faded. And for many watching closely, it was another sign that this relationship was far more complicated than it ever appeared on the surface.
You and Wayne had like a kiss thing going on.
Facts. I know you got a child. You probably kiss him. You probably got a son. You kiss him.
Yeah.
You heard me? I always looked at Wayne as my son, and I always looked at it like, because I was in the streets, and I thought this might be the last time they ever see me. That's where that started from, and I always today look at Wayne as my child. I was his father when he didn't have a father, since he was 9 years old.
Right.
And I love him like my own, and I give my life for him, and I'll take a life for him.
The explanation was that street life made every goodbye feel like it could be the last, that the kiss was a father showing love to a son he might never see again. That reasoning resonated with some people and rang completely hollow for others. And the debate never really died. It's still alive today, constantly reignited by leaked footage and viral clips that force old images to be viewed through new accusations. Then come the allegations. The documentary The Carter premiered in 2009, offering an unusually intimate look at Lil Wayne at the height of his power. But buried inside, it was a revelation that would shadow conversations about his relationship with Birdman for years. Wayne openly spoke about losing his virginity at age 11, in a setting that involved older men, including Birdman. In the film, Wayne described being in a room full of adults when someone encouraged a sexual encounter with a girl who was around 14. He recounted the moment casually, saying he loved it and never pressed charges. Others in the room could be heard laughing. Wayne later confirmed the story during a 2009 appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, admitting that the experience had affected him emotionally in negative ways. Since then, commentators have framed the incident as potential child abuse or grooming, pointing specifically to Birdman's presence and the larger issue of exposing a minor to adult situations. Wayne approved the documentary's release, but reports suggest he later regretted allowing that story to be included. Regardless, the footage remains one of the most frequently cited pieces of evidence in debates over what Birdman's mentorship really looked like. Additional, unverified claims paint an even darker picture. Former associates have alleged that Birdman introduced Wayne to drugs, guns, and street life at an early age, not as protection, but as preparation. Stories circulate that Birdman once handed Wayne a gun while he was still young, encouraging him to handle business and navigate dangers far beyond his age. These narratives tie directly into Cash Money's long history of artist disputes and allegations of exploitation, and they raise an uncomfortable question that still hasn't gone away. These claims have been debated heavily during flare-ups between Wayne and his former mentor on X, where viral posts accused Birdman of grooming Lil Wayne and trying to position replacements, often backed by embedded video clips meant to illustrate the allegations. Those posts gained traction as part of a much larger conversation about exploitation in the music industry. The grooming accusations eventually collided with something even more concrete: money. Critics argue that Birdman's early influence over Wayne, presenting himself as a father figure, controlling Wayne's access to money and opportunity, shaping how he understood business relationships, created the perfect conditions for exploitation. Defenders push back, saying Birdman gave Wayne resources, protection, and platforms that a kid from New Orleans simply wouldn't have had otherwise. Wayne himself has walked a careful line. When asked later whether there were missteps back then, his response was diplomatic. He pointed to Baby and Slim and essentially said managing everything with just two people was almost impossible. Now that he's in charge of his own operations, he says he understands the pressure, joking that he can barely handle hotel room issues without losing his temper. It was criticism, but measured, an acknowledgement of mistakes without accusing malicious intent. But the footage circulating in 2025 and 2026 tells a different story, and the internet seems far less willing to extend that grace. And the allegations don't stop with Wayne. The Hot Boys, Juvenile, BG, and Turk fell apart in part over unpaid royalties, with members later airing their grievances publicly. Tyga has claimed he never received proper payments from the label and survived mainly off live shows. Drake and Nicki Minaj were pulled indirectly into Wayne's later lawsuits, with allegations that Birdman used profits generated from their success to cover debts elsewhere. More recently, leaked interrogation footage tied to Young Thug's case, allegedly involving statements from YSL Woody, reignited long-standing rumors about Birdman's business practices and personal associations. That footage spread fast, adding legal weight to whispers that had followed Birdman for decades. And with every new clip, every resurfaced interview, the same question keeps coming back. Was this just chaos and mismanagement, or something far darker hiding in plain sight? A clear pattern runs through these allegations. Artists signed to Cash Money repeatedly described feeling controlled, underpaid, and trapped. Contracts were allegedly structured to favor Birdman and Slim while limiting the freedom of the very talent generating the revenue. And when artists tried to push back, through lawsuits, public comments, or simply refusing to record, they often found themselves pulled even deeper into the label's grip. Birdman has consistently denied any abusive or exploitative behavior. He's long framed Cash Money as a family, crediting himself with launching careers and pointing to shared culture and a rough New Orleans upbringing as the root of many misunderstandings. No criminal charges have ever come from the grooming or exploitation claims. But in the court of public opinion, verdicts have already been formed, and leaked footage continues to fuel them. Then came the feud. The father-son storyline collapsed in public on December 4, 2014. Wayne took to Twitter, venting about repeated delays to the Carter V, which was supposed to drop that month. He accused Cash Money of holding him hostage and choking off his creativity. His words were blunt: "I want off this label and nothing to do with these people, but unfortunately, it ain't that easy. I am a prisoner, and so is my creativity." That accusation hit hard because it wasn't abstract. Wayne wasn't arguing over sound or direction. He was claiming imprisonment. A man who'd spent most of his life under Birdman's wing was now saying that same relationship had become a cage. By January 28, 2015, Wayne filed a $51 million lawsuit against Birdman and Cash Money, alleging breach of contract tied to the withholding of the Carter v. and widespread financial misconduct. The suit claimed unpaid advances, royalties, and profits, not just from Wayne's catalog, but from Young Money artists like Drake and Nicki Minaj under a 2012 joint venture. Wayne owned 49% of Young Money, while Birdman and Cash Money held 51%, an arrangement Wayne said was repeatedly violated.